right.
I'm back.
Hey. We are live once again. Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're tuned into the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quezzy Dreams, and your man, Cat Fitness. And today's episode guest, we have two great guests, actually. We didn't give you just one. We're bringing you two. We have Quinton Young and Ricardo Peralta. Did I say that right, Rick?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. I don't want you going bad on me on air today, saying I mispronounced your name or something. So, as you guys can see, it's a special episode. It's 420, y'all. I know some of y'all probably doing y'all thing right now, but we wanted to bring two highly experts to the show today to talk to you about the THC and the CBD products that are out there and the benefits. You know, our whole mission during the show is to give you the health benefits, the holistic outlook on different things besides pharmaceuticals that you can treat yourself with. So who better to have than the owner, Quinton of Recoup. What's going on, Quinton?
Hey, how you doing, Kat?
Doing great, man.
Glad to
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. You know, we got 1,000 questions for y'all real quick, but just to get a little background, where are you guys from?
I'm actually in Richmond. Born and raised. Born and raised in Oakland. Born and raised in Oakland. Grew up in Oakland for part of my teenage years. My parents moved out here to Richmond up in Hilltop. When I was younger, I went to, I'm a Bay Area product. I went to St. Mary's High School in Berkeley. Graduated from there, and I went on and did my college studies down at UCLA.
Nice.
Graduated from there. Worked for Chevron as a research chemist for a number of years. Left there, went back and got my master's degree in environmental engineering. Got into the environmental management field. I used to call myself an earth doctor. You know, back in the 80s when we were watching what was happening with this whole global warming and all the stuff we were doing, I thought it would be important to get in a field like that. Was in that field for a while, and kind of fast forward, I was able to meet Rick Peralta here, and we collaborated on a certain couple of things. He's a great entrepreneur. He approached me with getting into a venture, a project he had dreamed about doing, and I had thought about it too. I've never really thought about the CBD realm. I always knew about the THC, but he exposed me to CBD, and once we jumped into it, with both feet, and we founded a company back in 2017. Yes, sir.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I do. I know we have some listeners on here who have no idea what CBD or THC is. So if you could just give them the most basic breakdown possible.
Will do. Rick, you want to do that? Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So the marijuana plant, the hemp plant, they're pretty much the same thing. So I know that there's people saying that cannabis is cannabis and hemp is hemp, but ultimately it's the same plant. It's just the government has called hemp anything that's 0.3% THC or lower, the government calls it hemp. But if you look at the plant, you look at what it is, they're basically just another strain. It's just another type of cannabis that's labeled hemp. It's just high in fiber, high in CBD or CBG, which we're going to discuss in a moment, and low in THC.
So now, when I go to the store and I get my hemp seeds, are those the plant it's actually referring to?
And you know something, it is. It's referring to hemp, but ultimately they're basically the same thing. Like they're basically just another dog breed, another strain of cannabis. They're just calling it hemp. I mean, obviously you got your Doberman Pinscher and you got your Chihuahua, right? So they're dogs, and they're very obviously
one's a little bit more vicious than the other one.
Exactly.
One's
louder than the other one, I tell you that.
And I'll interject this real quick. A lot of people will differentiate between hemp and marijuana, that hemp is the male plant. And the marijuana, the THC that people smoke and use, that's the female plant. It germinates. That's where you get the buds. You get the pretty buds on the female plant. You don't get that on the male plant. It's a total, like they're related, they look alike, but when you get closer, the female plants look a lot more intricate. They have a lot more flowering, a lot more budding.
So which one has the seeds? Because I remember when I was a kid,
they all have seeds.
They all have the seeds? Okay.
So plants have genders?
They all got seeds. Yeah.
You said plant has, I think,
you didn't know that? You didn't know
was
that?
asking a question. You said, so the genders of the plant.
This hemp or cannabis have, the females get the seeds. They're the females, right? They get the seeds in the buds, right? So sometimes you'll see cannabis or hemp plants with a bunch of seeds in them. It's because they got pollinated. They weren't separated in time. The females basically got pollinated, and so the seeds were formed.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know it's a huge process of when to do all these little intricate kind of things to make sure plants don't have seeds and cross-pollinate and different things like that.
Right.
The biggest cannabis plant, the biggest plant on earth is the Mexican sativa, and it grows in the Sierra Madres, right? And they let everything grow wild, and they cut everything down and compress it, right? So that's why everything they have there is seeds. They don't try to separate it or nothing. They just keep it all natural because the natural plant has seeds.
So what's the difference between seeded and seedless marijuana or cannabis?
Well, obviously, the seedless one is the one that everybody is craving and looking for, because once it usually has higher THC. It's a female. You get all buds, and people don't want to take out the little seeds. It bothers people. You don't want any seeds, so it's the Sensimilia, right? Sensimilia's got no seeds, so that's when that was founded a way to keep them seedless, and that's where it really took off because people really love the flavor. They didn't have to worry about removing seeds, et cetera, et cetera.
So is it like organic fruit? So like, you have some fruit that has seeds and other fruit like seedless watermelon, seedless oranges, things like that.
Genetically modified?
Yeah.
Right, genetically modified. If you find fruit with no seeds, and I was taught this a long time ago. I was doing some shopping. This old Black woman came up to me, and I was looking at some seedless grapes. And she goes, "You don't want those." I go, "Why?" And she goes, "Because those have been altered. They've been genetically altered. Real fruit has seeds."
Right.
Right. They may be little seeds or big seeds, but if it's like void of seeds, then it's losing a lot of its nutrition because seeds have nutrition in them, and you can eat those seeds.
Wow.
But if you don't have it, then there's nothing you can do. A lot of people take the seeds and grind them up, and they have a lot of nutrients in them.
It's hard to find in the Bay Area. It's hard to find seeded watermelon.
Yeah.
Because when the summertime comes around and I'm buying a lot of watermelon, it's difficult to find seeded watermelon. You can't just go into any old grocery store and find it, because I think that people think, seedless is best, when in fact that's not true.
No, that's not true, but it's a lot cleaner, and that's why there's no seeds, there's nothing to spit out. There's nothing to get rid of, but they're sacrificing the nutrition for the convenience.
Right.
And
so is that the same? Yeah, is that the same with cannabis? Like, are there any? Yeah, I know Rick mentioned that it's higher. It sounds like higher potency for seedless cannabis, but is there a sacrifice with smoking the
quality of it?
You can get very, very potent seeded marijuana. The whole point of removing the seeds is people they don't want the seeds, just like they don't want seeds in grapes. You know what I mean? Ultimately, no, you're not going to find a stronger cannabis because it doesn't have seeds in it. No, that's incorrect. Because you can have some very strong marijuana with seeds in it for sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question for people out there who don't know? Okay. And I know this seems like a very basic question, but there are people who don't know the difference between CBD and THC. Somebody tell us.
First of all, CBD is legal. CBD is 50 state legal. We passed that when the last president passed that farm bill in 2018, when he authorized that we could start growing hemp and using hemp. And within that bill, very obscurely, we can use derivatives of hemp. That's really important. CBD is being a derivative of hemp. Like Rick said, it's less than 0.3 THC. anything less than 0.3 THC in this country is legal. You can have it. You can't get arrested for it. You can take CBD and pass every drug test. As long as you know where your source is coming from and it has analytical and you can prove it. THC is the mother of the marijuana. We all know what that does. You know, the government prohibited that for years. But just to deviate a little bit, back in the 1800s at the turn of the century, THC was legal and it was in our medicine. And we used it profusely in it, and they knew the medicinal benefits of it. But as the pharmaceutical industry started coming up, CBD and marijuana being freely grown out in the street, there's no profit margin.
Oh boy.
There was no money. There was no money made.
Yeah, that's
And
the
so
combo.
with that, the government like pretty much phased that out, vilified it, did some things with it, and they knew all the time it's great for head. It's great for a lot of different ailments. I won't say it cures anything. There's cases out there where you can read that they're legal, what marijuana has done for people and how they use it medicinally. So that's pretty much the big difference. You know, you can get arrested still in parts of the country for THC. CBD.
Wow. So THC and CBD are cannabinoids. Okay. Those cannabinoids. There's dozens of cannabinoids in every type of cannabis / hemp. Okay. Some plants are high in THC, delta 9, right? There's different types of THC. There's delta 9, delta 8, delta 10.
Can you give us like a brief breakdown of what the differences are between those?
I mean, okay, so delta 9 is the one that we all know, like the marijuana that gives us the psychoeffectiveness that gets us high. Delta 9, delta 8, same thing, but more of an uppity thing, right? And it's
are we kind of talking about like sativa versus indica?
These are all minors that are found in the cannabis plant, right? They've figured out a way to basically extract them, right? So the sativa plant is going to have a lot of delta 9 in it, but it will have some delta 8, and that's what gives you the uplift. It'll have a higher delta 8 than, let's say, an indica. An indica is going to have delta 9, and it's going to have a lot more delta 10 in it, which is the more relaxed, opiate, chill, couch potato type of high situation.
The
right?
indica couch.
Exactly. Now,
munchies.
CBD is found in all cannabis and hemp, but it's a minor. In other words, the let's just say, any strain, let's just pick a strain. I don't care. You can say cookies, right? Or you can say OG Kush, whatever it may be. You will find all the cannabinoids in the OG Kush. It's just going to be very high in delta 9 THC. It's going to be way lower in CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC. It goes on and on. There's dozens of cannabinoids, right? Now we know that the marijuana plant / hemp plant is a medicinal plant that's been used for thousands of years prior to this government, this creation of this country. So it's been used since the dawn of time, since long as humanity's been around. Hemp, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, has been used since the beginning. So they were
using it as pain relief and stress relief and all different kinds of stuff.
They were using it.
That was going to bring me to my next question, because you two are the experts, and sometimes people need things to help them, like when it comes to people that are suffering from stress, anxiety, different things like that, right? What are some things that I can start looking into, because we're talking about the indicas and the sativas? How do I know how to identify which one might best meet my needs, right?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'll let you go.
So basically, the cannabis in general, if you eat it or smoke it, however you want to do with it, it's going to alleviate some pain right off the top. It doesn't really matter the strain so much. It doesn't really matter what level of THC or CBD it has in it. It's going to alleviate some pain. Now, some cannabinoids have been discovered that are helpful than others in certain things. For example, CBG is known to do really well with inflammation. I mean, so does CBD, right? So does CBD. But CBDA which is the acid form of CBD, which is its natural form of CBD. All these things have A's attached to them, but once they're processed, the A is dropped.
Mm.
When you go through the process, that acid form of that is lost. When you process hemp, it is naturally high in CBDA, but once you process it, the A goes away because of what you're using in the process. You're using ethanol or butane or whatever you're using.
Kind of strip it to get it into that form.
To extract that specific
wow.
cannabinoid, right? So it was just recently discovered that our bodies have an endocannabinoid system. It was the last system discovered in the human body. We are actually meant to take marijuana, hemp. We have receptors in our body that are designed to take THC, CBD. Because
it connects to the end of end of those receptors, right?
Exactly.
And it kind of refuels them, regenerates them.
The endocannabinoid system is discovered to be, its sole purpose is to make all your other systems work better. Your nervous system, your digestive system, your reproduction system, every system in your body, your endocannabinoid makes it more efficient, healthier, better. That's what the endocannabinoid system actually does.
Right. It actually overlays the central nervous system. They discovered this back in 1994. I think it was some German scientists. There weren't scientists in this country, but they were doing experiments and they found the system that Rick's talking about, the endocannabinoid system. It's been in we've had this since, God, prehistoric times. And, they were just talking about it, and I'll just share this. Like one of the oldest ice women they found, like the oldest mummified remains prehistoric time. Well, she had a cup of THC marijuana in her pocket. And we're talking thousands of years ago. And the big thing that's in the science community, like, what was she using it for? Well, they found out when they found out she was using it for pain. She was 25 years old. You know how they do the study with the bones and stuff. She was a 25-year-old female who was suffering from metastatic breast cancer. And they have hypothesized that she was using the marijuana then to alleviate her pain. And that's and when you're talking about the receptors, you have these receptors all through your body, but they're mainly concentrated on the endocannabinoid system. That's why when you have a muscle strain or something, we actually have a pain rub or a roll-on that gets into the system a lot faster. Now, you could take something internally, but that would take a long time to get there, for it to get in your system and start working. But the topicals, they work really, really good. One of the questions I always get, and I'll answer it, why can't you OD on marijuana? Nobody has ever died from an overdose on marijuana. That's because,
fell asleep, though.
you will sleep for a while. It feels good. That's the reason being, because the opiates, just to mention that, they are sensitive to certain receptors, but those receptors are in our respiration center. So when the opiates hit their receptors, they slow your breathing down. They basically stop your heart. That's why people die. When you OD, you just slow down. Cannabinoids, the cannabinoids, the marijuana and the hemp don't have those receptors in our respiratory system, which is located in the brain. So they can't bind there. So that's why you will never see an OD. And I know the media always say, oh, yeah, we're looking for an OD on marijuana or something. No, that ain't going to happen. You might have fallen asleep at the wheel. You might have did something else, but it's not like you're dying from that compound. That compound is good for your body.
Interesting. So all of it. So you're saying that all cannabis is good for humans.
All cannabis is good. You get different strains. Like Rick can talk about the different strains. Like you can take a marijuana plant, and I don't even call it marijuana. We call it cannabis. Marijuana was a slang that they made up that was very derogatory, but that's what we grew up with. We just call it cannabis in the old days, like they did. Where was I going with that? God, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, saying that all cannabis is good.
Yeah, all cannabis is good. There's strains. Like some cannabis comes higher in certain cannabinoids and certain THCs. And so they'll take that, and Rick, an expert, they'll take that and they will clone that plant to make those properties grow in that plant. So that's where you start differentiating how it affects you. The indicas, they're relaxing. That's like your martini or drink after work. The sativas, oh, they'll let you do work all night. And that's what the opposite. Everybody knows the weed that makes you sleep. No, sativas will keep you up and keep you at work.
Wow.
So I mean, it's called the dream plant for a reason. You know, it's definitely the wonder plant, the miracle plant for a reason. We're designed to take it. Now, mind you, if you smoke anything, it will create carcinogenics, and you still can get lung cancer if you smoke enough of anything. You know,
but is it more so because of the paper and everything that people use versus the actual plant?
Yes and no. Like the purpose of it is you want to remove as much tar as possible when you inhale, because it creates carcinogenics, right? That's why you have a lot of people smoking it through bongs, is the water is the best filter.
Kind of filters it out.
It traps all the tar. The tar is what gives you the cancer. Now, anything that you smoke, is no matter what it is going to affect you. So, I mean, of course, it can't help you, but it will hurt. Anything you take, you have to still take everything in moderation. Anything you abuse can still hurt you, right? So you definitely don't go around smoking, 18, 20, 100 blunts a day and think you're going to be fine. Because, a lot of times you're smoking tobacco, you're smoking other things, and smoke in general is bad for you. We were designed to eat it. We were designed to eat the cannabis, right? But eating cannabis, it takes a long time to affect you. Some people longer than others. People want the instant gratification, so they smoke it. And not to say that there's anything wrong with smoking. I mean, yeah, it is, but at the same time, you have to understand that smoke is not good for your lungs in general.
Right.
What's so interesting, it seems like it affects the body differently. I remember when I was younger, when I had an edible, it, like you said, it takes a longer time to get into the bloodstream. But then once it's there, it seems like a longer time. Like it's a process to get it out. You're like, damn, how long is this? This is the last.
So that's why and I'll mention this. That's why you see people with the high-end marijuana THC, we vape it, because vaping is not burning it. It heats it up through the battery, and it just creates a vapor, and that's a lot different than smoking. When you burn something, that's where you get the cancer-causing agents in the burning itself, the carbon that's left over. Vaping is a lot safer. Now, I know we had issues with vaping that last summer. That's because people didn't know what they were vaping. They thought they were vaping CBD, but they were vaping vitamin E that is not supposed to be in your lungs. That's what that compound was. It wasn't the CBD. It was the vitamin E that people were vaping. So it's really important to know your source, where you get your materials from. And I'll talk about it later, but everything we have is tested in an analytical lab. We know what it is before we sell it to the public, because we're very, very sensitive on that nature.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when you say we, who are you referring to? Your dispensary?
I'm referring to the company Rick and I started. It's called Recoup 123 LLC, and under that umbrella, we have a company called RecoupCBD.com. And when you go on our website, we have products there for pets. We have health and beauty products. One of the best things to put on your skin is CBD along with vitamin A. Women love it because not only do you put the vitamin A on your skin with the CBD, you heal it. You're also increasing your collagen input. You need the vitamin A to actually grow the collagen.
You telling Miss Kenya
I am a big fan.
Big fan,
and I'm an esthetician. I'm a licensed esthetician.
You know what I'm saying, right?
So I will talk to you about that privately. But I'm a huge fan of vitamin A. I use it frequently, and so to hear you talk about it, using it in a combination, is really exciting, actually. So
nice.
Right. The supplier we have is a big They were a huge women's cosmetics company, and they were approached back in 2015, 2016 by scientists who wanted to blend CBD in cosmetics and CBD in beauty products because there's a great benefit there. But they were kind of reluctant. They didn't want to mess up their brand by introducing the CBD in it. So they started separate brands. We were fortunate enough to be one of those brands.
Wow.
And we're one of the few, if the only minority CBD. Well, there's a lot more now because you got all the athletes in it. But back when we started, we were one of the few minority CBD owned companies.
Wow.
And
that's what I was going to say, because you got a lot of these athletes that use a lot of products that are CBD and THC, you know, especially in like pro football and stuff like that, to help with the recovery process, help with just the inflammation and the pain that they're suffering, you know, going to game
right.
and being able to recover and perform at, you know, high levels. What was the Olympic swimmer that had all the gold medals that got caught with the cannabis?
Phelps.
Right.
Huh?
I can't think of his first name.
Michael Phelps.
Like Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Michael Phelps. Everybody looked at him like, what? Man, he was huge in
He knew what was up, though. He knew what was
for recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Inflammation.
That's the reason for our name. Our name is Recoup. We get back. I mean, we're trying to help you, you know, relive your youth and your age. As we get older, everybody, we start getting aches and pains. And there's compounds, natural compounds, not pharmaceuticals, and that's what we're trying to get away from, because our people are addicted to that stuff. And you rely on that stuff, it starts destroying your liver, your kidneys, and everything else, when there's more holistic, natural ways to go.
Right.
So heroin addicts with CBD.
That's what we're
getting heroin addicts off of heroin with using.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. A
lot. How does that work?
It's working. It's replacing their heroin addict. It's replacing the opiates, and they're smoking and eating hemp products instead of taking opium.
Kind of helps balance everything
heroin
out.
Addicts historically have been, I used to work at a drug rehab, historically have used methadone or been sent to the methadone clinic in order to get off of the heroin and then onto the methadone, and then eventually they have to find a way to also get off of the methadone.
Some of them never do. They're methadone for life.
Absolutely. And I did not, I mean, for years I didn't know that you could use hemp products, CBD, for that, because we're not really taught that in my field. We weren't actually taught that. We were taught heroin to methadone, and then after that, there's never any more talk about it because on methadone.
The companies are making too much money off of it. They want to get them on methadone.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's just like using pharmaceuticals for lots of other things. For I have like travel anxiety, flight anxiety, and I used to use some sort of cyclobenzaprine or something like that for that until I got super sick one time. Now I use CBD products for flight anxiety gummies for men. And it's a completely different world. And so for people that are out there suffering from anxiety or different kinds of disorders like that, it's good for people to understand that that is an option other than using a hardcore pharmaceutical that can hurt you.
Kill you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you guys like get to this particular point? Because it seems like you guys are truly passionate about what you're doing. Like, what was the whole mission when building the company and all the products that you guys currently have?
Right. It gets kind of personal there. You know, when I grew up, you know what our diet is in the neighborhood. You know, we're eating all the greasy stuff, the fried stuff. We're coming down with diabetes. We're coming down with, heart problems and stuff. And I saw too many people suffering. One of those people was my mom. My mother was a diabetic, and I knew, I've come to realize that if CBD would have been around then, if she would have had used to it, she would still be around. She might not be around now, but she would have been around longer and in less pain.
Yeah.
So
It
for
would
me,
push
it
our
became
lifespan
more,
longer.
yeah. So for me, it became like a mission. Like, no, we need to get our people off of these pharmaceuticals, off of this stuff that's destroying their gut. They don't know what they're taking. It's doctors. I mean, we put too much trust in doctors, and doctors only know what they know. You know, they don't even teach nutrition in school. They don't even teach anything else because they're not making any money from it. And this is everything we do in the medical industry is revolves around that dollar. Everything,
Everything.
for everything. The
So
patent.
true.
You can't patent cannabis because God put it on and it grows freely. And that's the big downside. But now you got pharmaceuticals trying to jump in there to control some things, but it's going to be really, really hard. So that's how I got in there, Kat. I felt that we needed an alternate route to go, and not the pharmaceuticals.
We needed a natural, holistic version.
I mean, that's what our ancestors were doing, like you said, for thousands of years, Rick. Like, this is not new, but, you know, we've been programmed to think that pharmaceuticals are the only way to cure or relieve certain pain, when in reality, you know, Mother Nature has given us the perfect plant to do these things.
You know, this was
many perfect plants.
Oh yeah.
It was always there. It was always there, just wasn't accessible, right? And there was way too much money being made by the pharmaceutical companies to keep it hush hush, to keep it illegal. You got to remember, cannabis is still a Schedule I drug. It's up there with heroin and meth. That don't even make no damn sense.
You got some people doing some real time over cannabis.
You're right, real time.
It doesn't. We'll do some time, depending on where you're at. And you know, just 20 years ago, they were throwing people away for just a few £100. Just you're gone, bro. 100 years. Doesn't even make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and let's talk about it. You know, since we're on the subject of money and you know the wars and debates over cannabis, like how much is the cannabis industry actually worth, right? Like how much revenue, especially in this new age where it's becoming legal in a lot of states, it's becoming more accessible, and you know we have dispensaries literally at every corner in some areas of the country. Like how much is this industry worth, and how much equity is there in the industry for people who might not have like billionaire parents, right? Like what is that like?
It's $1 billion market. No one really knows. Some people say 20, some people say 30. The sky's the limit. In the United States, you know, I think they claimed that last year there was like 3 billion generated, but there's no cap on it. And
nobody's there.
It's like we gotta reach the limits, and you can definitely still get in with just a few thousand. Wasn't a good idea, you know.
Well, it's a $1 billion business, and then you have many people who are getting into the business who are not people of color, who are you know, and then there's a takeover. They've basically taken that over, and then you have a small fraction of maybe Black business owners in this field, but then you have a huge number of incarcerated Black people for this, and not a huge number of incarcerated white people that because of cannabis. And so there's just like many things in this country, there's a lack of balance, and like you were saying, Kat, a lack of equity.
Yeah, that's huge. And like if I'm somebody who's listening to this show wanting to get involved in the industry, right, on the ownership side, on the entrepreneurship side, where would I start?
There's a lot of, so I would recommend that you get into the CBD world right now, because there's no licensing, there's no red tape, there's no bureaus, there's no jumping through hoops, there's no federal mandates, federally legal. The states are still trying to grasp how they're going to tax it. Cities still don't really understand how to really get their money from it as well. So I think that the CBD is a broader market for anyone to get into for a smaller amount of money. I would, like, if you wanted to get into something, I would specialize. You know, I would do a certain type of cream and run with it, or an edible of some sort and run with it. You have to understand, all the other cannabinoids are legal. CBG is about to hit hard. A lot of people don't even know what CBD is. Well, CBG is about to hit really hard. Then you got CBN that's going to follow right behind it, and then CBC to follow after that. Then you got Delta 8 blowing up all over Texas because they don't have any Delta 9 that's recreational. It's all medicinal. So people are using Delta 8 big in Texas. Delta 10 is another big up and coming cannabinoid. So if someone were to get into the industry now, I would recommend that they would go into. I would recommend them for them to go into the CBD world, the hemp world.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that. You know, for money people, for investors like myself, and people who are looking to maybe profit from the cannabis industry without being directly involved in it, or like what is maybe a stock or a company we can invest to? Where is a resource we can go just to maybe support up and coming, you know, people who own dispensaries, or people who are looking to get into the industry? Like, is there a network for that kind of information, or like a resource?
It's kind of a loose network right now. I mean, there's growers have been around for years and years. They're just coming out of the hills, coming out now, and becoming more visible. It's pretty much been, as you know, pretty much an underground industry. Now, with all the notoriety CBD's getting, it's coming out of the woodworks. And just to give you an idea of the money you mentioned, the U.S. market for CBD products back in 2017 was about 297 million. In 2022, it's estimated to be 1.3 billion.
Wow.
That's just the CBD. Wow. That's not even the marijuana industry. So it has exploded because of its medicinal properties, because people can say, well, I can take that now for pain and do that. As far as, you know, the city of Oakland was sponsoring people to actually get in, but I don't know if Oakland's doing that anymore. Rick, you would know more about that, like which municipalities are even inviting, you know, people to come over and open up dispensaries and shops. That's one of the things you would have to find, because a lot of municipalities were close to it, but now they're seeing the amount of taxes that they can bring. So more and more places that you wouldn't believe, they're like, okay, we're open to that. We can have a couple. That even happened in El Cerrito. El Cerrito, totally closed. They got a couple of dispensaries that they're putting down on San Pablo now.
Somebody seeing like, oh, this is some extra funds going to be coming in fat in somebody's pocket. So I know we live probably in one of the greatest places in the country when it comes to THC as well. Like Humboldt is just north of us, and that's probably known around the world for having some of the best THC. Like, what makes that place, you know, so ideal versus so many different other places across the country? Because I know I've tried THC when I've been in Texas and Louisiana, and it's just a whole different kind of product versus what we have here in Northern California.
Right. I was wondering that too, because I know that somebody told me in Napa that it's somebody that grows in Napa, actually, that it's the same, it's the soil, because that same soil that grows those wonderful grapes. Grows the wonderful grapes.
It got all the minerals that it needs, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's the dirt.
The same in Humboldt, you know, that soil is rich.
It's the Emerald Triangle, right? It's not just Humboldt. It's Mendocino. It's Trinity County. Those three counties create the Emerald Triangle. Now, the reason why, it's not just the nation, it's the world. We are world renowned, the best location in the entire planet, not just this.
Right.
The planet.
The planet.
But you know who's coming out?
Colombia does grow some decent marijuana. So does Thailand. There's parts of the world that do have some good growing, but nothing can compare to the Emerald Triangle. Now, it ain't just the soil. It's the altitude. And it's not the altitude in the soil. It's the temperature. And it's not just all that. It's also the humidity. There's a lot of factors that make the Emerald Triangle. And this is considered the best outdoor marijuana in the world. Now, when you're in a controlled environment, you can grow indoor anywhere, right? If you know what you're doing. You can grow it in Alaska, right? As long as you have a controlled environment, the right strain, the right guy who knows how to grow it, and you can pretty much grow really good cannabis anywhere in the world if you know what you're doing. But if you want outdoor, Humboldt County, the Emerald Triangle, Mendocino, Trinity, that's the place that is world renowned. Kind of like cognac is in France, right? You can grow brandy anywhere, but Cognac region makes the best cognac, and you can't even call it cognac anywhere else unless it's in Cognac. Same
Really?
thing.
Same with
So,
champagne.
Jalisco, right? You can grow agave plants anywhere, but they're not going to turn out like tequila. They're not going to taste like tequila. You know, the blue agave only does well in that region. That's just the way it is.
And the new up and coming region, and Rick knows this, the new up and coming region in California that's walking away with a lot of THC awards is the Salinas Valley, the Monterey Valley. Because you figure that's where all our lettuce, artichokes, that's where all our produce comes from. They're starting to grow really great strains down in the Salinas Valley because it's open to the ocean. You know how you can go to Monterey and you get that cool breeze, but by the time it hits Salinas, it's cooled down and it's warm again. So you get that cooling,
more of the
and you get
valley.
that hot, just like you get up in the Emerald Triangle. You get the hot, and then you get that fog that comes in, and it makes the plants sturdier, and it builds them up.
Exactly, the weather, the clouds coming in, Now you know the Central Valley is the breadbasket of the United States. Central California is the breadbasket of the United States, so you can pretty much grow anything there, right? So yeah, cannabis, you're going to get some good cannabis there, especially if you know what you're doing, especially if you're growing it in a greenhouse or you're growing some sort of light depth where you can regulate some of the things, right? But the world-renowned location for cannabis will and always will be the Emerald Triangle.
And I'm wondering, and I'm just asking for a friend. What about Richmond? Just asking for a friend.
What about Richmond?
Indoor. We can grow something indoor here.
That's for sure.
Miss Kenya is definitely a farmer to heart. If you guys go to her house, she has nothing but fruits and vegetables surrounding her entire house. I think she has room for one cannabis plant.
In the back.
I have no cannabis. Let me just say that for the record. So I do have a friend that lives very close to me that may be interested.
Okay.
Real
in
close.
The backyard with the tomato.
Some little juveniles of the right kind. Yeah. Yeah, we like it. We can help you out. No, you can actually have what? 5 or I think
6. I think it's 6. You can have 6 legal
homegrown plants.
You can grow them as big as trees. You can grow them as big as trees. You just can't have more than 6.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the size. You can only have 6 though legally.
Wow. Okay. And I like that. I like that. So I have a question. I know we've talked a lot in this episode about the benefits and advantages of cannabis, smoking cannabis, consuming cannabis. What about some of the deficits? And I don't mean from like a legal perspective, but like a physical, mental perspective, right? Like, of course, I feel like most of us have seen and heard the studies about what cannabis can do to the brain, right? Can do to like the brain waves and brain cells and things. And I mean, for the people who are watching who have no idea, right? Like, is there any insight you can share on that end?
You know, I mean, cannabis has that, people look upon it as, when you look at a pothead, what is a pothead? It's a lazy person, sleeps all day, stays in their room, listens to music, just veges out. You know, yeah, you can do that. And that's one of the things. I mean, it makes you so relaxed and just so chilled out that, you know, I mean, you've never seen a mad cannabis smoker. I mean, we've seen belligerent drunks. We know how people do that when they drink. You've never seen that with a cannabis person. You smoker, you take cannabis, you want to go in a corner and chill somewhere. And that's down, and that's the negative. They think it makes you lazy, where you don't function, where you just check out.
Right.
I mean, if you listen to propaganda, you're going to hear that it's one of the worst drugs ever. You're going to hear that
they always use it as a gateway drug, right? So that's the term for it.
I think we all know that the gateway drug is alcohol. I think we're pretty sure, as you can see behind me, it's alcohol. Okay? Alcohol is the gateway to everything. Okay, it ain't cannabis. All right. Like I told you prior, like anything you smoke is not good for you. Period. Anything that you do and abuse is going to be bad for you. Anything. So everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Period. You know, and
that absolutely. And so
brain cells. I mean, put it to this way: you're going to get high. Is it no? There's no true study on how many brain cells it destroys, right? It's because the benefits outweigh the little high you're going to get or the cell that you lose, right? The benefits are so much heavier compared to like alcohol. What are you benefiting from alcohol? Not a damn thing, right? It's a true poison. You actually alcohol.
Yeah, just putting toxins in your body.
Alcohol. There is no benefits to heroin except you're going to go to surgery, right? You know, heroin's only good act is like when you're under the table and you're trying to kill the pain, like they're gonna cut you open, you know. That's why you got, you know, morphine and all that in the first place, right? Otherwise, there's no benefits for that either, right? The only true plant that doesn't have to be processed, you have to understand all this stuff gets processed. This is in its natural state, right? It's in its natural state. You take it. It is a plant made by God for us to use for all our purposes.
And I love what you just said too, Rick, because I feel like it has a spiritual component to it as well. You know, like a lot of tribal, you know, rituals are based around cannabis and being able to connect to your higher self.
You know, it's spiritual, right? We have a system in our body designed to ingest to deal with it. It's definitely spiritual, right? So
it expands your brain. Yeah, it expands. Yeah, when you smoke cannabis, it lets you think on a higher plane. People don't believe that, but you can actually get into a different state of thinking where just things you wouldn't think about before, it kind of opens up your mind. It relaxes your creative side of your brain, and it lets you absorb a lot of, it lets you think about that. One of the things I did want to touch on, people always talk about CBD. And we used to talk about isolate, and everybody talked about CBD by itself. But what we found, you don't want to take CBD by itself. You want to take what we have. It's called a full spectrum, where you get all the cannabinoids. They work in synergy. And the way I used to explain that to people, like we were all young and we have kids now. We used to all watch the Power Rangers. Each Power Ranger by itself has its own power, right?
Yeah.
But when you combine them, like when you combine the cannabinoids, like the CBD, the CBDA, the THC, the CBG, the CBN, then you get the full effects. And that's called a full spectrum CBD. And that's what you want to look at. It becomes a more powerful unit with all the other ones than by itself. We've gotten away from that. So when you see CBD by itself, that's actually broad spectrum. It's one molecule, they isolate it, you take CBD, and that's good. But we've graduated. We use full spectrum CBD now, where you get a little bit of all the other cannabinoids to help do whatever they do together. And that's real, you know.
Wow. This is
real.
This is powerful. I have a question. So with the infiltration, and I mean, I use that word lightly, but with the infiltration of, you know, pharmaceuticals and like big business into the cannabis industry, do y'all feel like there's going to come a time when THC can be taken as like a pill, right? Like it's something that the pharmaceutical company completely has their hands on.
Yeah, we have them right here. Pills. Oh. These are liquid gel caps.
THC?
Liquid capsules, full spectrum with THC in them. You don't need that much THC. You, like we say, 0.3 milligrams is what you need to make that whole complex function a lot better. You know, THC is good. It's not bad. Like people say, oh, we want to get rid of that. No, you want that with everything. The marijuana plant itself, or the cannabis, the cannabis plant, has over 125 different cannabinoids. We just found, we're just dealing with the first 10 or 15. Science is going to keep on unlocking this plant. And this plant is the future of all of this plant, I believe, can like do some wonderful things in medicine. I'm not going to sit here and say we cure anything. I'm not trying to get in trouble like that, but there are studies out there and there are people testimonials of what it's done.
Well, yeah, and I've seen there has been so many TV shows about this. There was that cooking show. I forgot what it's called now, but it was a whole cooking show about cannabis. And some of the cable shows, they've talked about treating epilepsy, seizures, all kinds of things. PTSD in soldiers, right? Vets.
PTSD, yeah.
So yeah, so many things that are out there that they are openly talking about, but they're still so controversial. And so I've seen so much stuff about people treating their kids and their kids' seizures and things like that with cannabis products, but then it's so hard to get, and it's so you can't get your doctors on board and all of these things. And it should be as easy, if not a lot easier, to get support from your doctors for something that isn't a drug. You would think that you would do that, but then there's no money in it.
There's no money. You said the magic word.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
And we've shown CBD, and the other stigma we have is that what these products will help the most, like the CBD and the THC, are the older senior Americans. Well, they grew up in that period where weed was bad. It was bad. You don't do that. And so they'd rather do the pharmaceuticals and do what their doctors say than to step out of that box and look. I mean, one of the best things you can use for dissolving the amyloid plaque in the brain that causes Alzheimer's is CBD. CBD actually dissolves that plaque in the brain. There's studies on it. We know that. But the doctors aren't going to prescribe that because they would lose all their patients.
Listen, there's study after study after study showing the benefits of cannabis. The problem right now is that it is a Schedule I federally illegal drug as we speak. Now, the cities and the states might say it's legal. The feds still say it's a Schedule I. And that's why a lot of pharmaceuticals are fighting to keep that as a Schedule I so they can continue to profit off everything else that they're making, right? If it wasn't illegal, then people would start becoming on a legal plane on the same platform. They're not trying to have that. They're trying to always be ahead. That's why they're lobbying against it and trying to keep it as a Schedule I drug. And so just by default, a doctor can't prescribe you a Schedule I drug. They're mandated by the federal government.
So it's like, it's like the dairy industry and the oil industry just fighting to keep the world from evolving.
And it's crazy because you think about it, it's called the miracle plant for a lot of reasons. Not only does it help health-wise, it also, you can make a fuel out of it. You can make paper out of it. You can make material clothes out of it. I mean, it goes on and on. You can make hemp plastic. You can remove all the plastic in the world and just use hemp plastic, right? You can stop cutting down trees and making property out of hemp fibers. You know what I mean? Not only that, it's fire retardant. You know, the hemp fibers are fire retardant. Not completely, you can still burn hemp, but it's a lot more fire retardant than regular wood. You know, so it's easier to process, et cetera, et cetera. You can also make fuel out of it. I mean, the oil industry would be devastated if you can make fuel out of hemp, right? They're like, hey, no, we don't want that.
They're never going to let that happen.
That's what the problem is. There's too many big businesses that would go out. Weyerhaeuser, who cuts down all the trees, they would be out. Because you can take a hemp farm with acres, cut all that down, and 2 years later, it's back.
Right.
Cut down our redwoods and our trees, give it about 50 or 100.
Right.
Wow. So what can we do on this level to encourage the evolution, right? Because it sounds like, based on what y'all are saying, you know, from the health perspective and from like the global warming perspective and from the consumption perspective, there's a lot of benefits that THC and CBD and cannabis have, right? Like, what can we do here?
Pros than cons.
Well, I mean, I think we're already moving forward in a way with the 2018 farm hemp bill. You know, the farm bill that just passed. It's moving.
Can you talk about that real quick?
It's opening up all the other cannabinoids besides THC that are beneficial for you, you know, that you can use. So, I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction. The more, you know, recoup products you buy, the better off the planet is. We can help things out.
There you go. You're saving a tree every time you get some recoup.
Question on how, on what happened and how the hemp bill affects us. Well, back in 2018, when the president passed that hemp bill, he didn't pass it for the hemp. What happened? All of his constituents that were growing tobacco were starting to fail because Nobody was smoking cigarettes. No more cigarette commercials. So in Kentucky, Tennessee, and all that whole belt where McConnell and Trump were, they grew tobacco. He passed the hemp bill so those farmers would have access to making money, to making a living, because their tobacco farms were null and void.
So they
That's
needed
what
a paycheck.
That's how that came in. But he opened the door.
Yeah.
Like I said, when he passed that farm bill, we had language in there that also allowed us to process derivatives of hemp. And the derivatives of hemp is CBD and all the other cannabinoids that are in the plant that can be processed. So he opened up that can of worms unknowingly by trying to help his people out.
Powerful. And oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So I see we're coming to a close. We only have a few minutes left, and I want to ask, because inquiring minds would like to know. But do either of our guests have an amazing or funny, or maybe even a sad cannabis story?
What's sad?
What time in 77?
You get 420 stories, right?
Besides getting arrested for smoking cannabis or having cannabis on you.
That's a sad story, not a sad story.
Nothing that's going to incriminate y'all.
No. I'll tell you this, and this is the truth. Like I told you when we first started, I have a biochemistry degree from UCLA, right? And people like, Q, how did you get into that? I go, man, I started smoking weed when I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, and it just opened up my thinking. It just let me see things that I never would have visualized. And when I say that, people think like, yeah, I can visualize compounds floating in the air, and people are like, wow, you can? I go, yeah, cannabis did that. I always tell people, if I didn't start smoking weed, I don't think I'd be in the profession I am now. It opened up my brain. It really did, and I knew that at an early age, that it actually had other properties that led my brain think of things that normally I wouldn't. They're all positive, so I'll share that.
That's powerful. Thank you. What about you, Rick? Talk to us. Other than getting arrested.
Since I was 12 years old, my man. And I'm gonna tell you something. I went to Chapman Polytechnical Engineering School. I went to Chapman University. I got my degrees. I'm Cisco certified, Microsoft certified. I did all that whole thing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I smoked weed in every damn exam, and it didn't slow me down. It helped me out. It opened up everything for me as well. Like cannabis, listen,
seeing all the answers.
You go out drinking all day and you feel bad and you feel terrible, right? Yeah. You smoke a little weed, you snap right back out of it. Right? It makes your stomach feel better, makes your head clear up a little better. I knew then, without no one ever telling me, that cannabis was a medicine, right? I knew then. And I was at like 14, 15 years old. Yeah. Drink too much booze, drink too much beer. Hey, smoke a little joint, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, doctors that are in the cannabis space, they'll tell you, eat a half a gram of cannabis a day. Eat it. Right. It will do wonders for your body internally. And one of our things with our company, Recoup, we do natural organic healing from the inside out. You heal yourself from the inside, it'll show on the outside. I mean, all of that is just bloom and you'll see it. But you gotta heal the inside, and cannabis can do that.
And when you say eat it, like eat it how? I
assume eat it in yogurt. Blood and eat it.
Eat it.
Oh, just like crumble it up and eat it?
Yeah. Put it in your yogurt. Put it in
the smoothie in the morning time.
Yeah. Put it in your salad. Sprinkle it in your salad.
Yeah. Boil some tea. Boil some tea. Wow. Some hot water. Drink it like that.
I was gonna say that. How is it? Does it consume the same way when you boil it? Like if you put it in a tea bag and kind of
Yes. Yes.
I have some tea from this CBD place in Vegas or in Nevada, and it's kind of a relaxing nighttime tea, and it's really delicious actually. That's got regular tea in it also, and some flavor, whatever kind of dried fruits or whatever, and it's lovely.
I mean, you
Wow.
can consume it right through your skin.
I have some coconut oil, some like weed coconut oil in there.
Yeah.
It's really good with scrambled eggs and whatever.
Nice.
Bath bombs have become a big hit too. Bath
Oh, I
bombs,
have some of those.
bath
I love
bombs,
those.
CBDs. I mean, you absorb it through your skin.
Yeah, I love.
Wow.
Your skin is the largest organ in your body.
Mhm.
It absorbs everything. So it's like, hey, you can just, jump in the bath with it, and you're gonna feel good.
I
It's
love.
better than the Epsom salt bath, huh?
Oh yeah, way better.
We have these wonderful, for women, we have these bath bombs
Mhm.
that have Epsom salt, essential oils, and at least 35 milligrams of CBD. If you've never sat in a bath and just envelop yourself with CBD oils and
You'll love
essential
it.
You definitely have a new customer because I love those. I got one when I was in Nevada, and I wish I had bought like 10.
I got one for you.
It was wonderful.
I will fit it.
I'm a bath girl. I love
What's a good post and aftershave would be, some like coconut oil with melted CBD distillate, some isolate in it. You melt it down, you take it out. You can do a post on your face, right? And then shave, and aftershave, and it works wonders on your skin. You don't get no razor bumps, none of that, man. You don't even need post and aftershave. You just use hemp oil and it shaves your skin just way more nicer, and the effects are way better and longer lasting.
Yeah. Y'all giving up too much free game.
Yeah, man,
we got to say this for the next episode. But where can I find y'all at? We've heard a lot about Recoup 123, which is an amazing company y'all have founded. Where can they find our viewers find more information?
Oh, you can't find me on that. You can't. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Go to our website. Our website is real easy. www.recoup, RECOUP, CBD.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is. Recoup CBD.
And because we found out a way to stabilize CBDA, we're going to be one of the first pioneering companies to drop CBDA products. So there'll be also CBDA products coming soon.
Perfect. Are you on social media?
We will be.
Yes, we are. We're just developing that. We have all our handles. We haven't developed that part because of COVID. Now we're getting more and more into social media because we were shut down last year. There are a lot of things that we couldn't do, and so we're moving our whole platform to an e-commerce platform. So if you go on our website now, you see our products, you see all the analytical, you see all the laboratory data backing up our products, so you know what you got.
All our products are third-party tested. They're all third-party tested. They're all Cat 3, which is parts per billion tested for pesticides, mold, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
All the analytical is on our website. You go to any product, click on it, and you'll see 6 or 7 pages of analytical studies.
Certificates of analysis. We got certificates of analysis on all our products.
Perfect.
Wow.
So I'd be more than happy. And you guys call me personally, I can give you a discount on our site. I'd be more than happy to share a discount with our.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll give you guys a code so you guys can get some discounts.
We got a special viewer discount. Tap in.
See Miss Kenya, she's like, I'm ready to go shopping. Come on. That's all you need to say.
Look, just go look at our site, Miss Kenya, see what you like. Give me a call.
Thank you. I
will.
will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
It's been great talking to you guys, man.
We appreciate you guys having us on.
No, we thank y'all for taking time out of your busy schedule and just educating our viewers on just so many of the different benefits of CBD and THC. Because you hear so many different things, but sometimes you want to actually talk to somebody. And talking to you two was just like getting every fact that we needed on this show to kind of clear up some of the things that we might be talking about in the community, but not necessarily knowing the full benefits.
It is.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Use it. Just use it.
Are you ready to close us out, Brother Quezzy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, y'all heard the information. Now, what are you going to do with it? So, again, we thank you, Rick, Quintin. We're definitely going to have you back for another episode. Definitely going to check out is www.recoupcbd.com. Instagram, social media pages coming soon. But support this locally owned business because they're doing amazing things, providing information and value and some good products. So Thank you, brothers. And
Thanks for
that's
having me.
the HCH show.
Quincy,
All right.
yeah, Kat, thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, I'm about to
And
just close this out real quick, Rick. So make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. to Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quezzy Dreams, and myself, Cat Fitness, y'all. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Cat Fitness on Instagram, Cat Fitness on Facebook, but make sure you follow our page, the Heal the Hood event on Facebook and Heal the Hood event on Instagram as well. Where can they find you at, Kenya?
You can find me at Ruby Envy on Instagram for my business, Ruby Envy Wellness. You can find me on Ruby Envy on Twitter, Ruby Envy on Facebook, and Kenya Asa on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Where can they find you at, Brother Quezzy?
Yes, Quessy.dreams. That's KWESI.dreams on Instagram. That's the main platform. And ACH show every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We here bringing it to y'all live.
All right.
All right, we'll see y'all in a little bit. Hey, Quintin and Rick, hang back for 1 second. We're just going to end the show, and then we'll bring you guys to the end.
Okay.
We should be out. Yep.